In King's Forge, all you're trying to do is forge blacksmith items using dice. To get those dice, you'll do some trading, you'll pick some cards, you'll work out how it goes. That's what you've got to do. Hi and welcome to Tabletop Gaming. My name is Charlie and today we're going to take a first look at King's Forge. Now, in a first look we tend to sort of look at what you can get inside the box, the components, our sort of first impressions of it. I'm a little bit ahead of this one because I've played this game previously and it is one that I really enjoy playing. So, although it's been a long while since I've been able to, I can give you a little bit of detail on sort of what the overarching themes are, what sort of things you're going to be trying to do, and simply why I like it so much. But it wouldn't be a first look without looking at some of the components, so think of this as like a first look plus while we get inside here. King's Forge is a game of gaining the king's favour. He's put out for a blacksmith and you want to be the one that wins. Now, in order to craft things for him to show off your prowess and your skill, you'll be doing so with dice. So collecting certain dice colours, and then when it comes to crafting, then rolling those certain dice colours and hoping to meet the terms on each of the items, whether that's a fancy toy or a crossbow or a plate mail of loyalty. Add in some funky features with things like being able to steal that honour is quite fun, but ultimately it's a game for 2 to 4 players ages 14 and over and will take 45 to 60 minutes to play. Okay, so as we would expect, the very first thing we pick up is the instructions here. So this is just going to give us some information. Royal Decree, Crafters Wanted. We've got the different components that are inside and then how we set up, what sort of things we're doing, what we need to do, crafting, cleaning, winning the game, gathering cards, and just a little bit more detail on what's on those cards themselves. So this rather large contraption is going to represent our board. So each of these are stages, and as you progress you can make decisions on what you do. So we will have certain things that we're going to be crafting, we can pick those up, and certain ways to do so that are going to fill here and will be pulled and replaced as we go along through the game, as we use those. And of course some options at the bottom that require none of those cards if you'd rather take those instead. Now, because we're shiny and new, we have punch outs to worry about, but actually not too many, which is good because it can get rather frustrating. These are our extra ones, so we've got the docks, magic, gems, and a couple of different houses and such, although we've lost one of those. So these are just nice extras, so you know who you are, what team you're on, or what side you're on. And then extras here in terms of things that you can pick up and what you'll need to be doing for those, which are double-sided. In addition, we have these tokens here, which are going to give us certain bonuses, and you pick them up in different ways. So at the bottom of the board it might be that you get rid of a dice to gain these, and this one for example means that you can change your dice rolling result to a 6, or the much cheaper one meant that you can increase the score on one of your dice by 1. So if you're trying to craft something and you're so close to getting there, you've got all the right components but you've not got the right result, these are your friend. Add in the customary anvil and we are thankfully out of punch points, but plenty more to see inside because this game is all about the dice, and I always forget that these are much smaller dice than usual. Now, we have multiple different colours of dice, and they will mean different things. So some of them count as gemstones. Some are harder to get hold of than others. What you'll notice is these red ones, for example, although I have a very decent handful of red D6, which are beautiful in themselves. Of the black ones, we have significantly more. There are a lot of those, and significantly less of ones such as these. So these are much more highly sought after, much more difficult to get hold of, much bigger sacrifice to gain, but can be worth it for the big points. Now those also increase, so there are fewer blue ones and there are red ones, but there are potentially more green ones, or the same number of green ones as there are red ones. It's trying to keep the balance enough so that you have the dice that you want, but you're able to keep gaining more and more of those. You might sacrifice some black dice one turn in order to get a red dice, but you might do something that gets you more black dice back later as you keep sort of almost bargaining your way through. Now, as for what you'll be creating, that's all dependent on this set of cards here. So it can be from the ordinary, like an anvil, to the bonkers, like a toy of some description. It really doesn't matter too much what it is that you're crafting, but what does matter is the cost. Because you're going to be racing to do the most amount, so I think it's 5 off the top of my head that you'll need to complete in order to win the king's favour, and they have varying difficulty as well. So if I just separate these cards out, we'll come to those in just a moment. So the aforementioned anvil, for example, might be a card that comes up and I might say, right, this is what I'm going to craft because I think I can do this one. Once I've done my collecting phase, which I'll show you in a moment, I'll look at that and I'll see, okay, what I need is 3 black dice. You'll see in this top corner, I need 3 black dice and they all need to have a score of 2 or better when I roll them. So I start off with a set number of black dice anyway, so I might be eyeing this from the offset. I'm going to roll those black dice and I might be 1 short. That's fine, because as part of my round, I got myself a 1 extra. I'm going to add 1 to it. Now all of my dice say 2. Great. I get to keep this card. Now the thing is though, is that whilst I can, and I do, I collect that card and it's mine, the other player that I'm playing with or players can then decide to also go for it because they've got the same amount of dice. And if they get a higher score, they get that card. So there's a little bit of push and pull that I quite like that makes it more interactive whilst you're sort of creating your own stuff and building your own dice empire to create the most impressive crafting. You can also sort of mess with other people's game, which I always find a fun part. Now, of course, that's all well and good, but what happens when you've got something that has a different thing? When you're starting out with black dice, but you need perhaps a red dice? What do we do then? Well, in any number of means. We'll have cards that are out on the table that are pulled and sort of laid down as you go. So that's something to consider. Each of those will change per round when they're taken, more ones put out. So it might be that although there's nothing there that specifically helps you to begin with, you can change those over. However, you'll have something like this. So this is East Forest, which is one of the starting cards that you'll always have there. And what that's doing is that's giving us options to gain different types of cards. So at the top there, you'll see that it is 2 of any dice, what's that, what that means, can get you a green dice. Nice, so you'll tie up 2 on here. You're not getting rid of them, that's a different symbol, but you'll tie up 2 of your dice there, which means you can't then use them in the crafting. Or you might use that bottom ability, which means you can put a dice on there in order to add 1 pip to the dice when you roll it. So you see those at the bottom? It's a one-time use ability. You add 1 pip to 3 different dice that you've rolled. So you can't do like a +3, but you can add +1 to 3 that you roll. It's worth having in your arsenal if you know you're going to be crafting in the next bit. Otherwise, you're probably going to try and gain as many dice as you can to have more bargaining later on. But you play how you play. As you carry on, you have more decisions to make, so Caravan is an interesting one. So at the top, you have the option to discard a green dice, so you'll see a cross through it. That means it's not just held up there, but it's discarded. You'll lose that to gain that many black dice, which is sometimes worth it. Or alternatively, at the bottom, you have the option to discard for some extra bits. So place all of your unused dice on the Caravan, which means you're tying those up in order to craft. So you're probably not going to be able to craft next turn. But the boons on them are quite impressive. If you're putting more than 9 dice on there, you'll get a red and a blue dice, which are the most sought after. That's quite tricky. Otherwise, if you put none on there, you'll just get 1 black dice, or you'll get 1 or 2 gets you a green dice. So worth sometimes just sort of biding your time, collecting your resources ready to unleash havoc across all of the things that you want to craft and all of the things that you want to build. Each of these have got a little extra on there, and what's really nice is when you go to the instruction booklet is that those explain those. So although you do get used to the symbols very quickly, if you're not too sure, in here they immediately tell you at the top this gives you this option, at the bottom it gives you this option, all in easy to read sort of format so you know what to expect. So to recap, you're looking at having a gather phase, which is where you're getting all your dice and picking how you're going to allocate them or what you're going to do with them. You're going to have a crafting phase, which is when you then try and roll those in order to pick up one of those cards, and then your cleanup phase, which is just then sort of resetting, putting the cards back out, making sure all the dice are in the right places, returning your dice to you if you left them there, or if they're discarded, sorry, they've gone back in the pile. The difference is in that craft phase, you're aiming for 4 or more. If you're in a 2-player game, you want 5 of those cards in order to win, and that will make you the King's Forge. Now, as soon as you start getting used to those symbols, as soon as you start playing and you start recognising what those symbols mean, you will start getting more, if I do this, then I'll do this. And if I do this, I'll do this. And everything that sounds complex or overwhelming at this stage will immediately make sense as you start playing through. It is more of a sort of habitual thing. I now know what that symbol means, therefore I'm going to head down that route and I'm going to plan to do this. that's gonna get me this one, and then if I get that one, I can then do this one. And it's a nice knock-on effect. There isn't too much of a hurdle. The instruction booklet is lovely and clear about how it is that you play, to sort of walk you through your first little bits, and it's just a really fun one. I really enjoyed playing this in the past. I'm looking forward with this copy to being able to show other people why I like it so much, and I think it's sort of almost an underrated game. It's one that I don't think gets as much love as it deserves because I thoroughly enjoy it. So what do you think of this first look? Is this one that you have played, you would play? Is this another one that you think, like me, that maybe more people need to know about because it's quite a fun one to do? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you pop those in the comments. Now this is by Starling Games, so we'll pop some links and such so you can see the sort of things that they do. And also if you'd like to see more from Tabletop Gaming, the links from that will be in the description. Because we're not just YouTube, we've got podcasts, we've got game stores, we've got mystery boxes, we've got magazines. Honestly, there's plenty to see. All of that will be in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to speaking to you in the comments. Thanks so much, have a great day.